Tonight's bedtime story collection is all about calm, cozy dreams. So, let's snuggle up and drift off together. But before we begin, could you tap that subscribe button? That tiny click tells YouTube that you love what we create, and it helps us keep bringing you magical bedtime tales. Alright, let's get comfortable. Settle under the covers and begin tonight's story. This is the journey to Turtle Island. Inspired by Luke Prendergast's Turtle Island. The journey to Turtle Island. Kit had spent her whole life in the lively heart of Bangkok, all 8 years and 7 months of it, to be exact. Her parents had moved there long before she was born, and high above the bustling streets, in a tall apartment tower that overlooked the colorful, chaotic hum of the city, Kit first came into the world. A few years later, her little sister, Soap, arrived too. Bangkok was Kit's favorite place on earth. There was always something happening. From morning until night, the streets thrummed with life. The calls of vendors and past, the roar of cars, the beeps and splutters of the buses were crowded. The subways steamy, and sleek boats glided up and down the wide Chao Phraya River that wound its way through the city. On weekends, the markets stretched endlessly through the streets like colorful labyrinths, overflowing with laughter, chatter, and the sweet smell of ripe fruit. People haggled cheerfully, waved paper bags of mangoes, and bartered for trinkets and treasures. Only at the temple, the quiet place Kit as parents sometimes took her, could she ever find true calm. The cool breeze drifted through the open windows, making the petals of pale lotus flowers quiver gently at the feet of the great golden Buddha. Yet, even though she adored her city, Kit carried a dream deep inside her to visit one of the beautiful islands that lay scattered just off Thailand's coast. She and Soap would spend hours paging through books or watching nature shows about those magical islands, their white sands, turquoise waters, and bright coral bays, alive with fish. What fascinated them most, though, was snorkeling. In their living room, the sisters turned playtime into pretend underwater adventures. They'd strap on their swimming goggles, wave their arms as if gliding through blue depths, and call out in wonder, "Look! An angelfish!" Kit would exclaim, pointing dramatically at the sofa. Or a clownfish, maybe a barracuda. And always, look, a turtle. Turtles were their greatest obsession. They loved everything about them. The intricate mosaic of their shells, their gentle blinking eyes, the calm way they paddled through the ocean. More than anything in the world, Kit longed to see a turtle swimming freely in the sea. So, when her parents surprised her one sunny morning by announcing that the family would be going on a beach holiday and that they'd get to snorkel, Kit could hardly contain herself. "Mama, Papa," she cried, throwing her arms around them. Thank you. But where are we going?" Her father unfolded a map, his finger landing on a tiny green speck off the coast. "Right here," he said with a smile, "Turtle Island." Kit's eyes widened. Her father explained that the island was called Turtle Island because, from above, it looked just like one. A large shape for the body, a smaller one for the head, but it was also home to real turtles. Its coral coves and underwater gardens were known to be favorite spots for these peaceful sea creatures. If they were lucky, They might even spot one. Kit and Soap squeezed each other's hands in pure excitement. They could hardly wait. Early one morning, they packed their bags, shouldered their backpacks, and set off with their parents toward the train station. The train ride was long, more than 4 hours, before they finally reached the docks, where a large boat waited to whisk them away. Out on the open water, Kit and Soap stood near the railings, letting the ocean breeze tangle their hair and the salt spray leave tiny white crystals on their cheeks. Ahead, the horizon shimmered, and soon a dark speck began to grow larger and clearer. "Turtle Island!" they gasped in unison. Their mother smiled. "That's the one!" The island rose from the sea like a dream. Emerald hills blanketed in jungle, soft white beaches curving around sparkling bays, and little rows of colorful buildings by the shore. Kit and Soap wanted to rush straight to the beach, snorkels in hand, but their parents only laughed. "Patience," said their dad with his favorite, saying, "Good things come to those who wait." Even though Kit didn't like waiting, she knew he was right. So they first checked into their cozy guest house, changed into their beach clothes, and walked into the small town to grab a meal. The restaurant smelled delicious, fragrant curries, steaming noodles, and fluffy white rice piled high. When they'd eaten until their bellies were warm and happy, Kit and Soap looked up at their parents with their best wide-eyed hopeful faces, the kind no parent could resist. "Can we go snorkeling now, please?" Kit and Soap asked eagerly, eyes wide with excitement. Their parents laughed at their enthusiasm. "Yes," said their mother, ruffling Kit's hair and then Soap's. "We can go snorkeling now." With that, they gathered their things and strolled down toward the shimmering beach. The sand was so soft and pale that Kit felt as though her feet might melt right through it into another world below. Along the shore, tulsi almond trees stretched their branches toward the water, casting pools of shade where the sunlight couldn't quite reach. The afternoon sun glowed high above them, scattering bright flecks of gold across the rolling waves. Their father spread towels on the sand and reminded them, as he always did, about the importance of protecting their skin from the sun. He dabbed another careful layer of sunscreen on their arms and noses before saying, "All right, you're ready to explore." Kit and Soap squealed with delight. They pulled on their snorkeling masks. Soap also slipped on her bright orange armbands, since she wasn't yet as confident a swimmer as her big sister. They shared an excited grin, took a deep breath, and ran together toward the water. Warm waves splashed around their knees as they dashed into the sea. Kit dove forward, her body suddenly weightless, as though gravity itself had let her go. The world turned blue and liquid and silent, except for the soft, bubbling gurgle of the ocean. When she turned around, she saw Soap paddling behind her, eyes wide behind her goggles. Kit waved her hand, motioning, "Come on, let's go." Together, they glided farther from the shore. Beneath them, the sandy seabed sloped gently downward, dotted with smooth beige and gray stones, half buried in the soft ocean floor. A flash of red caught Kit's eye, a tiny crab scurrying between two rocks before vanishing again. And then, suddenly, the sand gave way to coral. And underwater, once upon a time, in a small town nestled by the endless blue sea, lived two sisters, Kit and Soap. Kit, with her curious brown hair and a favorite summer dress, loved exploring more than anything. Her sister, Soap, with sunshine blonde hair and always ready for an adventure in her shorts and t-shirt, was her constant companion. One bright morning, while wandering along the shore, they spotted something peculiar in the distance. It wasn't on their map of the coastline. "What's that?" Kit, Soap asked, pointing towards a small, rocky island they had never seen before. "I don't know," Kit replied, her eyes wide with wonder. "But let's find out." They rowed their small boat towards the mysterious island. As they got closer, they noticed the rocks were covered in a strange, beautiful pattern, like an ancient mosaic. Kit reached out and touched the surface. It was warm and surprisingly smooth. Suddenly, the island trembled, and a low, rumbling sound echoed from beneath them. The island began to move. A colossal head with wise, gentle eyes the size of dinner plates slowly emerged from the water. "Greetings, little ones," a deep voice rumbled, as ancient as the ocean itself. The sisters gasped. This was no island. It was a turtle, a giant, ancient sea turtle. "Don't be afraid," sighed Kingsley. "My name is Ivan. It has been a long time since I've had visitors." Kit and Soap, their fear replaced by sheer amazement, introduced themselves. "You single quats. You're huge," Soap exclaimed. Ivan chuckled a sound like stones rolling on the seabed. "I have seen many suns rise and set," he explained. "My shell carries the stories of the ocean." He offered to show them the wonders of his world. For the rest of the day, the sisters rode on Ivan's back as he swam through vibrant coral reefs and past schools of shimmering fish. He told them tales of hidden grottos and ancient shipwrecks, of the songs of whales and the dance of the dolphins. It was the most magical day of their lives, an adventure born from a simple walk on the beach. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in orange and pink, Ivan brought them safely back to shore, promising to visit again soon. The sisters knew they had found a friend for life and a secret that the ocean itself had shared with them. Thanks for watching our story. If you enjoyed this adventure, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more magical tales. See you next time. Winter. The young grizzly bear had entered the world on a frosty January night, more than 2 years before our story begins. He and his twin siblings were born into the cozy warmth of their mother's den, a snug, snow-covered shelter buried deep in a drift on the northern side of Eagle Peak in Yellowstone. Their mother curled her strong yet gentle body around them, keeping them safe and warm through the endless, frozen months. Only when the sun began to melt the snow and the first tender leaves began to unfurl on the trees did she lead her cubs into the waking world. Winter would never forget that first step outside. From their den, high on the mountainside, the view stretched far below. Green valleys dotted with wildflowers and streaks of color that looked like spilled paint across the meadows. The cubs stayed close to their mother, learning everything they needed to survive. They learned how to scramble up trees faster than the wind, how to snatch fish from rushing streams with a single swift swipe, and how to find berries hidden beneath the bushes. When their mother rested, the 3 young bears filled the air with laughter. batting lazily at fluttering butterflies or tumbling down grassy slopes like soft, round balls of fur. In the golden heart of summer, they splashed in shallow rivers, wrestling playfully as the water that had once raged with spring snowmelt now trickled calm and clear toward distant lakes and seas. When autumn arrived, the cubs followed their mother through forests painted in gold and crimson. She taught them which berries were sweetest, which roots hid the most delicious flavors, and how to eat enough to fill their bellies for the long, cold sleep ahead. Soon the family curled up once again in their hidden den high on Eagle Peak, wrapped in a cocoon of snow and silence. Winter passed his first true hibernation with his family. Then came spring, and then another summer season spent perfecting his fishing skills, climbing higher, roaming farther, and growing stronger. By the time their third winter approached, their mother knew it was time. When the snow melted once more and the sun returned to the skies, she nudged each of her now-grown cubs toward different paths, gentle but firm, proud but tearful. It was time for them to live on their own, and so Winter began his solitary life, wandering freely through the vast wilderness of Yellowstone National Park. He often saw his brother from afar, maybe near the salmon streams or across the windy plains. They'd lift their noses, reading one another's scent through the air. But mostly they lived alone, just as grizzlies are meant to. Winter roamed across his favorite lands, south to the fallen rocks, east to the roaring river, west to the sapphire-colored pools that steamed all day and night, and north to the open fields where mighty bison grazed. One misty morning, his curiosity drew him farther than usual. He followed an unfamiliar scent through the cool forest air until he reached a wide, open clearing. And there, gleaming under the rising sun, stood a creature like nothing he had ever seen before. Bright blue, shiny, and roaring in a strange, thunderous way that no animal ever had. Soon, more of the curious beings stepped out from the large blue creature and spread a soft blanket across the grass. They settled upon it, opening small boxers filled with foods that released scents unlike anything Winter had ever breathed in before. Hidden within the sheltering shadows of the trees, he watched with wide eyes, returning again and again to witness the same mysterious ritual unfold. Each time the great beast that carried them appeared in different colors, sometimes glowing red, like the fading sun, sometimes shimmering silver, like the fish that leapt from the rivers, and at other times as dark and endless as the night sky itself. On certain days, the smaller beings were quiet, gazing dreamily at the world through strange black boxers that clicked and flashed with bursts of light. Other times, the place overflowed with noise and laughter as many of the creatures ran about, shouting and squealing with joy. The longer Winter watched, the more he began to understand their ways. In time, he learned that these small, strange creatures were called people. Every so often, when the people had gone still or looked away, Winter would step softly from his hiding place, his heavy paws sinking quietly into the grass. He would lumber over to their picnic blankets with as much gentleness as his great body could manage, sniffing curiously at the treasures they left behind. There were flavors his tongue had never known before: the sharp bite of salt and vinegar that made his mouth tingle, the strange creamy texture of cheese, and the softness of bread that clung to his teeth. He didn't visit the meadow every single day, but whenever he did, he discovered more about which foods were delightful and which were best ignored. He became especially fond of the fruits. They brought sweet and colorful things that didn't grow anywhere in Yellowstone. Sometimes the people left behind shiny packets that crackled as he picked them up, or bottles filled with liquids so bright and colorful they looked like melted rainbows. When he took a sip, the sweetness burst across his tongue like 100 raspberries at once. Winter devoured everything he could find, remembering what his mother had told him. His most important task before the cold months came was to eat and eat well. For when the snow arrived, he would need to dig deep into the earth and sleep for many moons, hidden away from the world above. Some afternoons, Winter allowed himself to rest a while, lying on his back in the soft grass, gazing up at the wide sky. He watched the eagles circle far above, wings spread like sails in the wind. How he longed to soar with them too, drift lazily on the warm air currents, to dive and skim the surface of the river. Sometimes he was sure they were teasing him, swooping low just to show off their mastery of the air. One bright morning, feeling daring, Winter decided to try it himself. He climbed a tall tree, gripping each branch with determination until he could go no higher. Then, taking a deep breath, he spread his arms and leaped into the open air, just as he'd seen the eagles do. His flight lasted only a moment before the branches broke his fall, and he tumbled clumsily to the ground below. Shaking off the leaves, he looked around quickly to make sure no one had seen. He gave a small grunt of embarrassment, but tucked away the lesson in his heart. Bears, he now knew, were not meant to fly. His mother had been right all along. From that day forward, he reminded himself to honor her teachings and stay true to what he was. Bears and eagles, he thought, were two entirely different kinds of creatures, just as bears and bison were. He had once tried to count a herd of bison grazing in the distance, but gave up somewhere around 3,000, his head spinning from the effort. Clearly, he decided, bison enjoyed being surrounded by thousands of their own kind, unlike bears who preferred solitude. Latin summer. As Winter splashed along the pebbled shore, darting in and out of the chilly water after leaping salmon, he thought he saw a familiar shape on the mountain slope above him, his mother standing proud and still watching. Perhaps it was only his imagination, but just in case, he showed off his best dives and strongest catches, hoping she could see that her lessons had taken root. When autumn arrived, Winter spotted his sister at a nearby berry patch. He paused, letting her go first, watching her breathe out soft clouds into the cool air. For a moment, he considered joining her, wrestling and playing as they had when they were cubs. But she looked so peaceful, so content in her solitude, that he held back, smiling quietly to himself before turning away. There was one thing, however, that his mother had never told him, something Winter had decided all on his own. He knew he needed to fill his belly before the long sleep, but he also wanted to fill his mind with beauty. As autumn turned to winter and the days grew shorter, he became determined to remember everything wonderful he could, so that his dreams would be full of color and joy during the many months of slumber ahead. Every day, he searched for new wonders. He watched the trees turn from green to shades of amber, gold, and crimson. their edges curling and drying before drifting down to the forest floor. He loved the sound of them under his paws, the satisfying crunch of dry leaves, and the slippery feel of damp ones. Sometimes he would roll in them, kicking his legs and sending them fluttering through the air like autumn snowflakes. He saw the squirrels gathering nuts and hiding them with great care, patting the earth gently over their treasures. Overhead, the birds began to leave, sometimes in small groups and sometimes in vast clouds that filled the sky, their wings beating together as they followed the call of warmer lands. And in those final weeks before he made his way up Eagle Peak to find his den, Winter lifted his nose to the air and caught the sharp, coal-scented he'd been waiting for, the first whisper of snow on the wind. Winter had always loved the snow. He loved how it felt as it drifted softly onto his fur, how it melted into cool droplets on his nose, and the satisfying crunch it made beneath his heavy paws. He delighted in rolling through deep snowdrifts, tumbling down white-covered slopes, and turning to admire the winding trails he left behind. Sometimes, when the snowfall came thick and fast, he would walk only a few paces before glancing back to see that his tracks had already disappeared, swallowed up by the storm. In those moments, he felt like a phantom of the forest, invisible to the world and free to be anything he wished. When the snow was at its heaviest, Winter liked to dance. He would lift his big paws and move slowly through the falling flakes, humming to himself tunes that reminded him of the rushing river, the sigh of the winds through the trees, and the cry of eagles far above. It was his secret joy. No creature ever saw him dance, for he only did it when the snow fell fast enough to hide his footprints as quickly as they formed. The giant creatures of color, the blue, red, and black ones he had come to know as cars stopped visiting once the snow came thick upon the ground. Yet the smaller creatures still appeared now and then, gliding swiftly on thin sticks attached to their feet, weaving between trees and shouting with laughter as they went. They no longer brought their rustling bags of strange foods or the bright fruits from distant lands, but their joy made Winter smile. He watched them scoop up handfuls of snow to toss at one another, filling the forest with cheerful noise. Once, he saw them gather the snow into a great mound, shaping it into the form of a giant bear. When they left, Winter padded up quietly, studying the snow bear's face. With a gentle touch, air resapited, softening the edges, smoothing the curves, and giving it a wide, happy smile. The next day, when the people returned, he hid behind a snowbank and watched as they discovered his handiwork. They laughed, pointed, and looked all around in wonder. Winter chuckled quietly to himself, pleased to have shared a secret joke with them that they would never solve. As the sun dipped lower each day and the world was bathed in silver twilight, Winter knew it was time. His mother's words echoed in his mind, find the north-facing slope, where the snow lies thickest and the cold winds blow hardest. There, beneath the heavy mounds of snow, he would be warm and safe while he slept. By now, Winter had grown enormous. Each step he took up Eagle Peak felt heavier than the last, the snow deepening as he climbed. He fixed his gaze on a strong, towering tree ahead, the perfect guardian for his first den. Hour after hour, he trudged upward through the swirling wind, his eyes squinting against the flurries that danced through the air. He thought of the cozy shelter he would build, the long rest that awaited him, and the dreams that would fill his mind through the dark months ahead. When at last he reached the tree, He began to dig, paws working steadily, muscles straining as he moved rocks, roots, and soft earth aside. He burrowed deep among the roots until the space felt like a snug little cave. Finally, when it was ready, he paused and looked out over the white, silent world one last time. Below him stretched a sea of snow. In the far distance, he saw the slow, steady march of thousands of bison, 3,000 at least, crossing the frozen plains. Above, a golden eagle glided in graceful arcs, a dark shape against the pale sky. Winter whispered a soft goodbye to their forest, to their rebirths, to the world he loved, and then turned and padded into his den. He circled the hollow a few times, pressing the earth until it was just right, and curled up tightly to keep in his warmth. Through the entrance, he watched the snow drift down until it sealed him completely inside. Wrapped in silence and darkness, he listened as the wind's voice faded and even the cry of the eagle disappeared. He smiled as memories filled his drowsy mind. His first spring, when the river sundered with melting ice and the forest exploded in bright, new green. His first summer, full of fish and sunshine and adventure. His first autumn, when the berries had ripened fat and sweet. He remembered the strange flavors of the foods the little people brought, the other animals bustling to prepare for the cold, and his family, his mother, brother, and sister nestled safe and warm somewhere beneath the same blanket of snow. A feeling of peace washed over him. Winter breathed slowly, just as his mother had taught him, gently in, gently out. His great body relaxed, warmth spreading through him as dreams began to take shape in his mind. Soon, he was drifting away into a deep, contented sleep, ready to dream of rivers, trees, sunlight, and all the wonders of the world he loved. Spring would return. The snow would melt. The earth would wake again in all its beauty and magic. But for now, Winter the bear slept safe, still, and surrounded by the quiet heart of the mountain. From the depths of the forest, Winter watched with wide, curious eyes as more of those strange little creatures emerged from the great blue beast. They spread a soft, colorful blanket across the ground and began to sit together, open in square boxers that released scents unlike anything Winter had ever known. The air was filled with the aroma of salt, smoke, sweetness, and something tangy that made his nose twitch with delight. Hidden among the shadows of the trees, he crouched low, his fur blending perfectly with the cool earth as he observed the scene unfold again and again over the days that followed. Sometimes, the giant beast that carried them would be red like the sun sinking into the horizon, or silver like a flashing fish leaping from the river, or even black and gleaming like the endless night sky. The little creatures, those people, as he would later learn to call them, were always full of surprises. Some days they sat quietly, gazing out at the open world, while holding up small black boxers that clicked and flashed with bursts of light. Other times, they came in great noisy groups, running in circles, tumbling through the grass, laughing, shouting, and filling the air with sounds of joy. Each visit taught Winter something new. He learned their patterns, their sounds, their laughter, and once he was certain they couldn't see him, he would step softly from the shelter of the trees, his heavy paws pressing soundlessly into the soft earth. He would lumber toward the picnic blankets with the gentlest care, drawn by those strange and tempting smells. The flavors were unlike anything the forest had ever offered. crispy salty flakes that made his tongue tingle, soft breads filled with rich creamy layers that clung to his teeth, and sweet juicy fruits that exploded with flavor at the first bite. He never came every day, but when he did, he became something of an expert on human food. He knew which treats were delicious and which to leave behind. He especially loved the bright fruits that never grew in Yellowstone, tiny suns and moons of flavor that filled his mouth with delight. Sometimes, when the people left in a hurry, they forgot shiny packets that rustled when he picked them up, or bottles of colored liquid that fizzed and tasted sweeter than 100 berries crushed together. He devoured them all, for his mother had told him that the secret to surviving the long, cold sleep of winter was simple: eat and eat well. But not every day was for eating. Some days were made for dreaming. On those afternoons, Winter stretched out on his back in the tall, golden grass and watched the eagles glide across the endless sky. They seemed so free, circling and diving, their feathers glinting in the sunlight. He longed to fly with them, to soar over rivers, to ride the warm air currents, to see the world from above. Sometimes he even thought the eagles were teasing him, showing off their graceful spirals just out of reach. Once, on a bright morning, he decided to try. He climbed a tall pine, one branch after another, his claws gripping tightly as the tree swayed beneath his weight. When he reached as high as he dared, he spread his front legs wide, took a deep breath, and leaped. For a brief, glorious moment, he felt the air rush past him, and his heart soared. Then the branches caught him, slowing his fall with a series of thuds and scratches before he tumbled into the soft grass below. He lay there for a long while, groaning and checking around to make sure no one had seen his foolish attempt. Then he laughed quietly to himself. Bears, he realized, were not meant to fly. His mother had always said so, and as usual, she had been right. From that day onward, Winter promised himself to be the best bear he could be, to remember her lessons, to live wisely, and to trust the instincts she had passed down to him. He thought often about how different animals lived their lives. Bears and eagles, he mused, could not be more different, roamed the ground while the other ruled the sky. Even the great herds of bison were unlike him. They moved in massive waves, thousands of them grazing together across the plains. One long summer afternoon, Winter tried to count them as they passed. By the time he reached 3,000, his head spun and his eyes crossed, and he gave up with a huff and a chuckle. Later that same summer, he played in the cool waters where the rivers ran clear, catching slippery salmon that glistened silver in the sun. As he bounded and splashed through the shallows, he thought he saw a familiar ship far above a great bear, standing on a mountainside, watching. It looked like his mother. He wasn't certain, but it made him stand taller, swim stronger, and show her, wherever she was, that he had learned everything she had taught. One cool evening in late autumn, as the light faded and the air shimmered with frost, Winter saw another familiar figured sister, padding softly toward a patch of berries. He paused, hidden in the shadows, watching her as she plucked them one by one, her breath puffing into the cold air. For a moment, he longed to rush over, to nudge her shoulder and tumble playfully like they had in their cub days. But she looked so peaceful, so sure in her solitude, that he held himself back, letting her keep her moment of quiet joy. There was one lesson his mother had never spoken aloud, something Winter had come to understand all on his own. To survive the long months of snow and silence, he needed not only food for his body, but beauty for his dreams. So as the days grew shorter and the chill of winter crept through the valleys, he made sure to fill his mind with wonder. He watched the trees transform, their green coats turning gold, amber, and red before drifting gently to the ground. He felt the crisp leaves crunch under his paws, or the soft, damp. It was a path that could lead him anywhere he wished to go. The lion told Glinda he'd think carefully about her ideas and already knew the perfect place to do that thinking. With a gentle smile, he asked what she planned to do with her own day. Glinda said she hadn't decided yet, but thought she might wander through Oz to see if anyone could use her help. She wished him a beautiful day, no matter what he chose, then lifted her hand gracefully and vanished into the warm morning air. Lion padded over to an old pine tree that stood proudly at the edge of a clearing and lay down in the cozy hollow he had shaped there over the years. The soft grass that surrounded the trunk felt cool beneath him, and the sweet pine fragrance filled the air. He placed his big paws behind his head and let out a long, happy sigh.